Hey there, I'm just currently setting up a shot for some RS4 mini tutorials. Got the nice unopened box there, and I thought it would be kind of useful to take you through my setup procedure. Shooting on the Osmo Pocket 3, full auto white balance. This is going to be super raw, kind of behind the scenes thing. Don't expect too much editing in this thing. So, just turn you around. What I'm going to do is I've just moved this desk into the center of the room, and when I built this desk I put it on wheels, and that just makes it super easy to position. And I've already got my camera set up on this tripod, and the first thing I'm doing when setting up this shot is I'm actually deciding on the focal length that I want to use and also the positioning. So if I can take you in, and what I'm looking for is I'm looking for background elements and trying to get this level in the frame and trying to get the desk centered in the frame. And because I'm using this Sigma 24-70, it does mean that I can have a little bit of wriggle room in the framing without having to move the tripod and everything around. I can just, zoom in or zoom out a little bit. Currently, what are we at there? 35 millimeters. And I'm just using 35 millimeters as a starting point, just because that's fairly natural, neutral focal length. So it shouldn't distort things too much in the scene. And of course, just got to clean things up a little bit. I'm just going to put you down. The great thing about Active Track on the Pocket 3 is don't have to worry too much about framing. I'm doing these behind the scenes videos. Let me know in the comments, by the way, if you like this kind of behind the scenes video. I know it's kind of unscripted, it's really raw, and it might seem a bit disorganized and scratchy, but I don't know, I thought it'd be quite cool just to make a video with minimal edits and just talk you through what I'm doing. Anyway, let me know if you want more of these kinds of videos, because yeah, I'm always setting things up, so I might as well film it and take you along with the process. All right, desk is pretty clean now. And another really useful thing that you can use, and I'm using a Sony camera today, but you can use other cameras' apps. It's a bit wet at the minute. Sony have an app called the Monitor and Control app, I think it's called, and you can wirelessly connect to a Sony camera and basically get a live view of what that camera sees. And you can also use some other functions. Might as well just show you, turn you around. This is the Monitor and Control app, and this is a live view of what I'm filming. Hello, waving my hands around like a strange person. So this is really good because I can just have this on the desk, and I've just got it on these really handy Peak Design mobile phone tripods. So what I can do is, because this desk's on wheels, I can move this desk around, and then without having to need to look at the little tiny screen on the back of the camera there, I can just have this on this desk as I'm moving it around, and I can use it to help frame up what I'm doing. So I'm just trying to stand in the middle of this desk. It makes things so much easier. Obviously, if I had a massive monitor plugged into that camera with HDMI or something, then I could use that. But this app is free, so might as well use it. So I'm just going to go and fine tune that shot, and then I'll be back, and then I'll need to set up any second or third camera angles, and then obviously the lighting. What I'm looking for in this shot is I've just put this DJI RS2 in there, just as a stand-in for the RS4 Mini, which I'm going to be filming. And I'm just checking the framing, that when I stand up, like how tall is my head in the frame. And I'm also thinking about how much desk space we've got. So if we look at this desk, what I want is I want enough space going towards the camera so I have enough foreground here. And if you actually have a look at how I designed this desk, I designed it so it has this overhang, and that just helps get the front of the desk closer to the camera. And the reason I'm doing that is just so I've got more space to demonstrate closer to the camera. I just think it looks a bit nicer, and it doesn't mean you've got this desk space and then the desk and then me. I think it just looks a bit tidier. So I think, looking at that screen, I think we've got the desk and the camera is almost level. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lock these wheels, and I deliberately added wheels with casters so I can go and lock those. Yes, we need to set up the lighting. First thing I need to do is decide on what aperture I want to film at. So I'm probably going to not choose the minimum aperture on this lens of 2.8 because I want more depth of field. So if I'm moving this gimbal forwards and backwards, then I kind of want the whole gimbal to be in focus and not just my eyes and a shallow depth of field in front and behind my eyes. If that makes sense. So I'm going to come over to the camera and I am going to set the aperture that I want. And the reason I'm setting the aperture first is the aperture is going to be important because it's going to dictate the amount of lighting that I need to set up. With a wider aperture, it's going to let more light in, obviously, which means I'm not going to need as many or as bright a lighting setup. So now I've got that aperture in place and I've got the focal length and I've got the framing, I can bring in the lights and then set them up to get the result that I want. I've just got that light on with that lantern at the minute, and that's just providing a bit of ambience here so I can talk to you and film without the Pocket 3 going too high at ISO and just looking a bit rubbish. So this place is a bit of a mess at the minute, unfortunately. So let's move a few things out of the way, and then I'm going to bring a key light over this side, and then I'll think about the fill after that. And another great thing, or another good decision that I made, was when I set some of this stuff up, I got these wheels for the C-stand for my key light, which means I can really easily move this key light around, set it up for different shots. You might be seeing a theme here with wheels. Wheels for things are pretty useful. So I'm gonna just unplug this from the mains, and then we'll bring it over to that side of the desk. And I'm probably just gonna leave the modifier, this softbox on. I've also got 3 bits of tape on the floor here, so when I have to bring this thing back and set it up for my normal talking headshot, I know exactly where to bring this back. Just a quick tip for you there, if you have to move things around a lot. All right, let's get this light set up. Just gonna swing this round, and then I'm gonna use this as the main key light on the desk. And also I apologize in advance for any background noise. There's construction work, I think, someone mowing the lawn. Got the aircon unit on because it's a pretty hot day. I did say this would be a little bit raw and rough and ready behind the scenes. If I don't fall over. Just show you what it looks like from this angle. There's the key light, and I'm going to obviously need to bring that key light up and just change the angle of it. I could actually do with a bigger softbox for this shot. And the great thing about this app as well is that as I'm moving lights and modifiers into place, I can just check whether or not they come into the frame and dirty the frame up. Now I've got that light in place, what I'm going to do is just turn it on so I can see what's going to happen. I'm just going to turn off the house lights like that, and also turn off this lantern. Right, hopefully the Pocket 3 can cope with this. So this is kind of what the shot's looking like now. And the great thing about using this app is that I can just stand where I'm going to stand, and then I can check the exposure. So I'm going to reset the ISO to 640, which is the base ISO for S-Log3, which I'm filming in. We're at f5.6, which I'm just going to check the focus in a minute. You can see how dark it is there now on the screen. That means I need to increase the brightness of this key light. And the great thing about this app is if I turn on, where are we? Turn on this, we actually get waveform. So this is going to make it super easy to set my exposure. And I'm going to aim for my face on this waveform to be about between 60 to 70 IRE on this chart. So I'm just going to go do that. I could, of course, just use the Sidus Link app. What I'd actually like to do, sorry about that, what I'd actually like to do is get a separate iPad or separate phone so I can have that always available, so I can always more easily set the lighting without having to go backwards and forwards to the physical light unit. You can see on this waveform that we've brought things up a bit, and you can see if I wave my hand, you can see that thing moving across the waveform. That's my hand. If you want me to do a full video on waveforms and exposure and stuff, I'm happy to do that. So you can see that I'm still a bit underexposed there. I want to be about at this 60 mark. Just go and turn this light up a bit. We're at 42%. This is a, what is this, aperture 300x. Just going to turn that up. Let's go 75% or something like that. Then we'll have a look at the waveform. This is my hand, and you can make this waveform a bit bigger, like that, which is really nice. You can also use false color, but you need to set that up to see or to choose whether you're using SDR or S-Log3. I've got that set to S-Log3. So I can turn off the waveform and I can turn on false color there. I'll just max it out at 100%. Now remember that I'm probably going to add some more lights, fill light, and maybe some through. You can see we've increased the exposure now. We're starting to get closer to that 60 IRE. Anyway, I don't want to waffle on too much. I'm going to set up the fill light now. And because I'm doing this product video, I want to make sure that the product is nicely lit from all around. So because I'm going to be using this Pocket 3 when I make the actual video, I'm going to be using the Pocket 3 as a B camera. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it as an overhead cam yet or not, or just a mobile roving camera. So when I'm setting up the RS4 Mini, I can just pick up the Pocket 3 like this and just show certain things. And then I can just use multicam editing in DaVinci Resolve just to make it super quick and easy to switch between those angles. All right, I'm going to go and get some more lights set up. And just before I go and grab those lights, just really quickly, if you don't have waveforms and false color and all that kind of stuff, best thing to do is just set up your shot and maybe use the little meter in your camera and then just film a few test recordings, write down how bright you've set your lights to, and then bring them into your computer, into whatever video editing software you're using, and then just see how they look in your video editing software, and then use the color grading scopes in your video editor to work out how you want to set up the lighting and what settings give you the best exposure. So it takes a little bit more time than using things like the waveform in an app. But if you've got a little bit of extra time, it doesn't take too much time to just quickly switch between those settings. Anyway, I'm waffling again. I thought I might as well just show you what I mean by that. I've just loaded a little test clip that I've shot with the camera with that setup that I just showed you. And I've just imported it into DaVinci Resolve. And forget about all these color grading nodes. All I've done is converted it to from S-Log3 to DaVinci Wide Gamut and then back and then into Rec 709. And you can see here's the waveform in DaVinci Resolve, and you can see my forehead is peaking about 60 IRE there. So I think by the time I set up the fill light and then maybe some kind of top light or backlight, I'm not sure yet. I think we'll probably be around that 70 IRE for the highlights on my face, which will be just pretty much where I want it to be. Okay, things have changed a little bit. I didn't want to bore you with all my little changes, but I'll take you through the final setup and I'll show you what it actually looks like on camera through the real camera. So let's start with the key light. What I've done is I've pushed the key light further back because there's a couple of ways of thinking about lighting. One is where you're lighting the thing. So in this case, it would be me and the gimbal, or you can light the space a bit more. And like anything, things are never 100% this or 100% that. So I kind of like to think of it as a scale. With the initial setup, I was basically all the way on lighting the subject, lighting the face, and I've gone more towards lighting the space instead. But we've got a few little accent lights as well. So switch you around. The key light is lighting up the main part of the desk, and also it's going to light this side of the gimbal. This is just the stand-in still. And at the back of the room there, we've got that lantern, and I'm using that just to add a bit of overall ambience to the room, and it just brings up those levels just a little bit around the side and just helps to just a tiny bit of fill really. And on this side, I've got this little light here, and that's lighting up the background. And there's two reasons for that. One is to provide a tiny bit of fill back this way, so that when I'm filming the gimbal, so I'm using the Pocket 3 like this to film, I'm doing something on the gimbal, we're getting a little bit of light coming back, not a lot, just a little bit. And I've set this to a color temperature of 2700 Kelvin. The main lights are all 5500 Kelvin, and the reason I've warmed that up a little bit at the back is it just takes off a little bit of that cool technical edge, I suppose, and it just warms things up a teeny tiny bit in the background and just makes it look, I guess, a little bit more inviting or warm. Over here to this side, I've got this Amaran tube light, and this is providing a bit of side light to the gimbal, and it'll also give me a little bit more side light on my left cheek. And what that's for is to fill in some of the light this side. So if I'm doing close-ups of the gimbal on this side like this, then we've got a bit of extra light there. And the final light, you've probably already seen it, is this light at the front here. Again, this is a tube light from Amaran, and this light is really all about providing a little bit of extra fill for the gimbal that's going to be there. And I can alter the brightness of this depending on how I want to balance the gimbal versus the overall scene versus the background. With all that being said, I hope you're still with me. I will go and take a bit of sample footage with the main camera, and I'll put it on screen now. And let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think you'd change anything. And also, please let me know if you like this style of video, because it's kind of a bit of a weird video to make for me, because I'm always so planned and always try and deliver maximum value. This is this is a bit more a bit more off the cuff. Anyway, if you like this kind of thing, please subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Bye.